All right. So, hi and good morning, everyone, and welcome to our workshop. So, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. And we are really excited to have you here for our today's session on building self awareness and empathy in children to prevent bullying. And this workshop is thoughtfully created for parents who want to get a deeper understanding of what children truly needs in their early years, not just on academically, but also emotionally and developmentally. And today's session is focused on providing clarity, reassurance, and practical strategies that you can confidently apply in your daily parenting. Rather than simply discussing what bullying is, we will also explore how nurturing self-awareness and empathy in children can help to equip them with the emotional skills to prevent bullying in both their own behavior and also in how they relate to others. And also, I encourage all of you to stay until the end as we will be sharing our practical approaches that you can use in your everyday parenting to help reduce bullying and also aggressive behaviors in your children. All right. So now let me introduce you to our speakers. So for today, we have Robert and also Karian, an early childhood development consultant who will be guiding us through to this topic with both professional insights and also a real life understanding. And before we begin, just a few quick housekeeping notes to help the session run smoothly. So firstly, kindly keep your microphone muted unless you are invited to speak. And if you have any questions while the speaker is sharing, you can just feel free to drop them into the chat box at any time. And we will address them at the appropriate moments. And also, please make sure to stay until the end because we have bonuses, surprises, and exclusive tips waiting just for those who stay with us until the end. And we will also love for you to share your takeaways with us. So if you hear something insightful or inspiring, please feel free to post it on your Instagram story and tag us at Absolute Genetic Technologies. Okay, so into this session, we will explore what bullying really is, how understanding self-awareness will help to improve your children. And then we will also talk about building empathy and why do some children show aggressive behavior. And then we will also talk and share some practical methods for everyday parenting. Lastly, we will have a closing and also Q&A session. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So I will now hand over the session to our consultants, Robert and Karian, to take over and we will begin today's sharing. Over to you, Robert.
All right, so hi parents, good morning, and thank you for being here today. So before we begin, many of you have noticed that in recent years, here in Malaysia, there have been increasing concerns shared on social media and in the news about bullying in school and also aggressive behavior among the children. So some of these cases are so serious that many adults find it difficult to believe that children are capable of such action. So, for example, cases in Sabah, and a few months ago, the cases in Bandar Utama High School. So, report from the ministry have shown that bullying and also school misconduct did not just remain as a significant issue, but also went up every year with thousands of cases reported. In 2024, more than 7,000 cases involved secondary school students and primary school students. So some incidents are tragic and have sparked national conversations about prevention, child safety, and also how we can support our children. And today, we are not going to talk about how bullying is. Instead, we will explore how this building self-awareness and also empathy in our children can equip them with emotional tools to prevent bullying. So both in themselves and also in other people. We encourage you to stay until the end of the session because we will be sharing our 4 practical methods you can apply in everyday parenting to help reduce bullying and also aggressive behavior in your children. So let's start with a quick of hands. So parents and also the audience, may we know how many of you have heard about bullying happening around you, and also how many have experienced your child being bullied? Mhm. I see a lot of hands here. Okay, I see. So parents, thank you for sharing and raising your hands. Just knowing that this happens around us remind us that why today discussion is very, very important. So now we move to the first chapter. Mhm. So what bullying really is and why prevention matters. So when we think about bullying, I assume that many of us still imagine the traditional forms. Is that correct? Mm. So, for example, physical bullying, such as pushing or hitting or threatening another children, that's the traditional forms. So, but today, bullying can also take other forms. It may appear as verbal bullying, such as insulting, mocking, and also repeatedly calling someone hurtful names. It can also happen through cyberbullying with their phones and also computers. So where the messages, their photos or comment are shared online to embarrass or attack another child or person. Sometimes it happens in group chat, on social media platforms, or through private messages that quickly screenshotted and shared among the classmates. So to understand this better, let's start with a very simple scenario. So imagine one day that you receive a message on WhatsApp from your child's teacher from school. The teacher informed you that another student has reported some hurtful comments being posted online by your child. So when the teacher look into it, they discover that, oh, it's your child and his friend. He left the teasing or insulting comment on a classmate's social media post. Maybe teasing the girl's size, calling her fat, calling her meatball, and also ask her to get off those such as Instagram or Facebook because she is fat and also ugly. That's what they said. So maybe the comment, some might think, oh, it's just a joke. They find it funny. Then comment and also laugh together with their friends, sharing emojis. But for the children sharing the comment, it felt very embarrassing and also very hurtful for them to receive such message from their friends. So when a parent hear this something like this, their first reaction is often shock. And many parents immediately think that, oh, why did my child do that? And sometimes their responses may be also, oh, my children is not a bully. Why did my child do that? And sometimes it's like they may even assume that there must be something wrong with the other children, or he was being influenced by a friend or another student. And maybe they are just simply joking around with the friends, right? So this, I can say, reaction is very natural. So most parents do not see their child as someone who would traditionally intentionally hurt other people. But moments like this can also become an opportunity for us and others to pause and also ask a deeper questions. So what might be happening emotionally inside my child when this bullying and also aggressive behavior happens? Because situations like this are becoming very common in school today. In social media, we can see that many parents and even teachers screenshotted this chat or conversation reports about more conflict happening and also um, more aggressive behavior and more cases of bullying among students. So how can we as parents help our child develop emotional intelligence skills that prevent this behavior in the first place? So today we'll be focusing on two skills. So the first one is self-awareness, which is understanding one's emotion, triggers, and also behavior on ourselves. And then secondly is empathy, means understanding the feeling of what others experience, and also which encourages kindness and prevent harm. So by the end of this session, you will have these practical strategies to help your child grow in both areas, creating a stronger foundation for respectful and also more empathetic relationships. So let us imagine a scenario by understanding self-awareness. Okay, so imagine this. Two children are playing in school. And when they play, one child uses a game. It's embarrassing, right? And then suddenly he becomes so angry, he shouts, he pushes the other child and then storms away. Sounds very familiar? So if we look at this behavior, it appears as aggression. No, the child is very aggressive. Why he do this? But if we pause as parent and then look deeper, something else might be happening. So maybe when they lose a game, the child feel embarrassed for losing, right? And then maybe he thought the other child were making fun of him because he lost already, right? So maybe he felt very small when he lose, also like insecure. But because he doesn't understand these feelings, all these feelings yet, the only way he can let out this emotion is through being angry and aggressive. So the behavior we see, such as pushing, shouting, or bullying, may actually be the surface of this unrecognized emotion. And this is why understanding self-awareness becomes so important. When a child develops self-awareness, they learn to move away from automatic reaction. Lose angry, not like that. They gain the ability to pause and then recognize what they are actually feeling in the moment. The brief moment of reflection is often all it takes to change a reactive outburst into a managed response. Now, understanding our emotion is only the first step. So once the children begin to recognize how they feel, the next important question becomes, can they understand what other feels too? So to guide us through this next stage of emotion development, I will pass this session to our fellow speaker, Ms. Kayen, who will be sharing more about building empathy.
Okay, thank you so much, Robert, for that very informative sharing. So before I jump into the empathy section, I just wanted to ask everyone in the call, does everybody know what empathy is? Have everybody heard of empathy? Is anyone familiar with it? Okay, I do see people knowing, understanding. Yes, so I'm gonna just jump right into what building empathy and what empathy really is. So now that we've really talked about self-awareness, which focuses on helping children recognize and understanding their emotions, let's move on to a really important step in emotional development, which is empathy. So while self-awareness helps a child understand what they're feeling, empathy allows them to recognize and understand how other people might feel in a situation. So let's imagine a very simple situation that might happen in your child's classroom. So let's say a child accidentally drops their book on the floor. Some classmates may help them pick it up, while another child might laugh at them. From an adult's perspective, this behavior may look like teasing or even bullying. However, sometimes the child who laughs may not actually realize that the other child feels embarrassed or uncomfortable. So to them, the situation may simply just look funny without even really truly understanding the emotional impact on the other person. This is where empathy becomes really, really important. So empathy really is the ability to recognize and understand another person's emotions. It's when a child begins to think, okay, so if that happened to me, I might feel embarrassed too. So when the child actually starts to consider how other people think, how other people might feel, their reactions naturally begin to change. Instead of laughing or ignoring the situation, they may begin to help, comfort, or even respond more thoughtfully. So it's really important for parents to really remember that children are not born with fully developed empathy. So empathy develops gradually through guidance, conversations, and by observing how adults respond to those emotions. As children become more aware of other people's feelings, behaviors such as teasing, exclusion, or bullying often reduce because the child begins to recognize the emotional consequences of their actions. So at this point, parents may wonder, why would a child bully behave aggressively towards others? The truth is that there is only one reason. Aggressive behavior often reflects emotional struggles that the child may not yet understand or even know how to express. The reality is that aggressive behavior rarely comes from a single cause. In many situations, it is linked to underlying emotional experiences that the child may not yet understand or know how to express appropriately. When children lack certain emotional skills, their feelings may appear through their behavior instead. So one possible factor is insecurity. A child who feels unsure about themselves may sometimes try to gain control or status by putting others down. By teasing or dominating another child, they momentarily feel more powerful or accepted within their peer group. In other situations, aggression may come from emotional projection, where a child feels hurt, criticized, or frustrated, releases those feelings onto someone else. Sometimes these behaviors is also connected to attention and social status. Within certain peer groups, teasing and dominating others may attract laughter or recognition from another classmates, which can unintentionally reinforce the behavior, which in other cases, the issue may simply just be a limited emotional vocabulary. When a child does not yet have the words to express emotions such as frustration, embarrassment, or even jealousy, those feelings may appear through behavior instead. When we understand these possibilities, we begin to shift our perspective. Instead of only asking, why is the child behaving badly? We can begin to ask a more helpful question. What emotional skills might this child still be learning? This shift allows parents and educators to move on from simply correcting their behavior towards actively guiding emotional development. So, what is the next important question? What can parents actually do to support their child's emotional development? The goal is really not to raise a child who behaves perfectly at all times. Instead, the goal is to help children gradually build the emotional skills that allows them to understand themselves and relate to others in a thoughtful and really respectful way. So one of the important steps parents can take is helping children recognize and name their emotions. When children experience strong feelings, they often react before fully understanding what they are feeling. Parents can gently guide them through this process by helping them put words to their emotions. For instance, instead of immediately responding to a child's behavior by saying, hey, stop being angry, a parent might say something like this, like, I can see that you are feeling frustrated because the game didn't go the way you expected. So this approach may seem simple, but it plays a really important role in emotional development. By naming the emotion, parents can help children connect their internal feelings with language. Over time, children begin to recognize these emotions more quickly within themselves. As their emotional vocabulary expands, they become better able to express what they feel verbally instead of reacting impulsively through their behavior. So another important strategy is using everyday situations to nurture empathy. So empathy, like I said before, does not develop through formal lessons alone. It grows through small conversations that help the child reflect on other people's experiences. When children encounter situations where someone else is upset or uncomfortable, parents can really guide them to consider another perspective. For example, if a child notices that a classmate is crying, a parent might gently ask, so how do you think your friend is feeling right now? Or what do you think might help them feel better? These kind of questions really encourages the child to pause and imagine what another person might be experiencing emotionally. So over time, this habit of thinking about another person's perspectives strengthens empathy. As children become more aware of how other people feel, they also become more thoughtful about their own behavior. This awareness gradually shapes how they interact with their friends, their peers, their classmates, even their family members. Okay, so for the next two practical methods, I'll pass it on to Robert.
Okay, thank you so much, Kaya, for your sharing. So for the third step is model empathy as parents. So children learn a great deal by observing adults. What it means is that they reflect you. So when a parent shows kindness, patience, and also understanding towards other people, your children naturally absorb this behavior. Even small everyday moments matter. So for example, imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress make a mistake with your order. So instead of showing frustration and scold the waiter or waitress, you can calmly acknowledge the mistake first and say something like, "Oh, I understand mistake happens," and then give the waiter time to fix the mistake and then say, "Thank you for fixing it." Or on a rainy day, when your food delivery arrives and the delivery person is struggling with the weather, it's either very hot or is it very rainy. So you might show empathy by offering a kind word or even a small tip by saying, "Oh, thank you for coming in this rain. I appreciate your effort." Maybe offer them a cup of water or some tips will be helpful to show this um, appreciation, so a form of empathy. So this simple action quietly teaches the children that observe you to see what empathy looks like in real life. So they learn that noticing what others might feel, offering understanding, and also responding with kindness are ways to positively interact with the world around them. And then the fourth tips is that teach children to pause before reacting. So young children often react very immediately when strong emotion arise. So for example, in school, they might shout back or push the other classmates when they feel teased or embarrassed in front of others. It doesn't have to be really threatening, but when they feel this kind of emotion erupts, the actions follows very immediately. So in moments like this, emotion can rise very quickly, and the children may react even before they fully understand what they are feeling. So parents can help children practicing pausing before responding. So for example, you might gently guide them by saying, "Cool down first. Whatever happens, cool down, and then think of what happened before you decide to what to do." Because let's say when a parent, when their friends or classmate just teases them, and then they push them or hit them, the punishment can be very severe, right? So what you can do is just ask them first, "How are you feeling right now when this small situation happens?" And then these small pauses give the children a moment to slow down first and then recognize their emotions. So over time, this won't happen immediately. They can't perform after you tell them. So this one takes time. And then over time, this small little practice help children to develop their emotional regulations. So then they begin to understand that feelings are real, but reaction can be chosen. Yes, you can feel angry. It's okay to feel sad, but your reaction can be chosen. So with these skills of emotional regulation, children become more better to able to respond thoughtfully instead of just acting impulsively and then complain to the teacher and say, "Oh, maybe James teases me, that's why I push him," right? So bringing it together, when we step back and look at the bigger picture, we begin to see a pattern. Children who struggle with self-awareness may react more impulsively because they do not yet understand what they are feeling themselves. And at the same time, children who are still developing empathy may not recognize that their actions might hurt other people. So, however, when self-awareness and empathy develop together, something important begins to change. The children can become more able to understand their own emotions while also becoming more aware of how others might feel. So this awareness helps them to pause, to think and then respond more thoughtfully in social situations. And over time, step by step, these skills support a more healthier relationships and also better conflict resolutions. So as your children, okay, learn to understand their emotion and all these emotions, both their own and also other people, like behavior such as aggression or teasing or then bullying, naturally begins to decrease. So for our last moment, our closing message, every child is still learning. You can't teach them tonight and then the next day they change. So they need to learn how to understand themselves and also the people around them. And then emotional development cannot happen overnight. It takes time and it grows through their patience and your patience and of course your guidance and also open conversations, talk about it, and also conversations that are very consistent, modeling from parents. So when children develop self-awareness and also empathy, they are not how do I say, not really only less likely to harm other people with their words or their action, but they are also more capable of building a healthier relationships, managing and also resolving conflicts, as I mentioned earlier, and also becoming more emotionally resilient individuals. Okay, so ultimately, the long-term goal is not to just correct the behavior, but to help our children grow into emotionally aware and also a more compassionate individuals. This is the long-term foundation that we are building together as parents raising children. Now I'll pass it to Putri to continue our next.
All right. So thank you so much, Robert and Karian, for the insightful sharing about building self-awareness and empathy in children to prevent bullying. And for our parents who have joined the session, we hope you have gained all of the information that has been shared. And also, as what our consultant have shared during the session about inborn traits such as the empathy and aggressiveness. So one of the ways that parents can gain deeper clarity about their children's natural tendencies is through DNA testing. And through just a simple saliva swab procedure, we are able to decode over 120 inborn traits across key areas such as their talent, their personality, their emotional intelligence, their learning ability, health, and also nutrition tendencies, like how a child may respond to certain nutrients and also environments. And most importantly, I would like to highlight that this test is not about labeling a child, or it is also not about predicting success or failure, but it is about giving parents the clarity so nurturing can become more intentional, supportive, and also aligned with who the child truly is based on their genetic blueprint. And our analysis is 99.8% accurate with 100% science-based research. Okay, so for parents who like to go one step further in understanding your child's natural tendencies, you can explore our DNA report for your child at a special price. So in accordance to Hari Raya, so when you check out, you can simply use the promo code AGT Raya for the promotion price, and it will also be available until the end of this month only. So you can screenshot this page to not miss out on the promo code. And I would like to also inform you that this report can give you access to deeper insights, like how I mentioned just now. And yes, please also scan the QR code in case if you need any support or if you have any further questions after today's session. Okay. And lastly, because you have joined us today, we have also prepared a special parenting guide based on what we have shared with our audience and our parents today. So what you need to do is you can just scan the QR code on the screen, or you can just copy the link and you can already download the parenting PDF that we have curated specially for our parents. Can I get a little thumbs up if you are done? You can either screenshot it first or directly screenshot the page. Okay. All right, looks like all done. So now let's move on to the Q&A session. So I would like to open the floor to parents who have any questions for our speaker. You may either open your mic to speak, or you can also feel free to type your questions in the chat box. Let's wait for maybe 10 seconds more to see if we have any inquiries, any questions coming in. Or you can also open your mic to speak, yeah, parents.
So, Kayan, can I ask you a question as a consultant? Okay, so, have you encountered any bullying in school when you are still a student?
I actually have not experienced bullying myself, and neither have I experienced other people getting bullied. But I have heard like a lot of news covered in Malaysia of like children getting bullied. Not even in Malaysia, just like everywhere in general has bullying cases. But I personally have not encountered that. Have you, Robert?
In school, yeah, a few times I have encountered bullying, but not directly. It's more on observing how the other seniors are bullying the juniors. But yeah, I'll try to have more empathy and go and comfort the one that getting bullied though. But I see still have a lot of bullying happening. I think more and more. Yeah. So I think there's a question here by your parents.
Yeah. So Ashata asked, how do we tell the difference between a normal social conflict between classmates and a bullying situation? Okay, I think that's a really good question. So I think from my point of view, a normal social conflict could just be maybe like a very small issue, maybe just a misunderstanding. Not, I think a bullying situation is where it escalates, where it becomes physical, or the person starts being more verbally like assaulting that person, saying swear words or just harassing the person in general. A normal social conflict would be more mature, where they say, "Hey, I'm mad about this thing," and then we talk about it in a very mature way. But a bullying situation would where somebody's feelings would be hurt, or they would literally physically be hurt, like in a physical way. Robert, what do you think?
I think it might be confusing because a lot of things are happening when the children are interacting because the way they play sometimes is quite over the line. But as a parent or as a teacher or as someone who are seeing this thing happening, I think you can start by asking first and then observe, like, is this thing happen quite frequently? And then does this kid get hurt? Or like, you can see from the reaction that when they get bullied, the action will be like, oh, always like feels a bit insecure or a bit cowardly when they're faced with big group of people like this, but with their friends or have like conflicts. Sometimes you can see that, oh, sometimes when this thing are not happening, maybe they are like really good friends. But then of course conflict happen, then they might be out of line and play quite roughly. So the keyword here is to observe first and also ask. Yeah, that's what I think lah. Yeah.
Any more
All right.
questions?
Yeah, any more questions? So if there are no more questions for now, I think we can move on. And thank you, Ms. Akshata, for your questions. And we hope we have addressed your question beautifully. And for other parents, you are always welcome to reach out to us after the session if there is anything that comes to your mind later on. Okay? So thank you so much for being part of today's session. And we hope today's session has given you a new perspective and practical insights on how to better support your child in building self-awareness, empathy, and also overall emotional development. And if you miss the QR code for the parenting guide, you may DM us after the session and we will be happy to share it again with you. And before we end, let's have a quick screenshot. So you can open your camera. All right, I'll take in three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, parents, for the session. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Just